The IT-like engineering workflow in SIMATIC AX demonstrates how to engineer a simple machine from start to finish. First, you need to install a prepared template from the hardware catalog. Once installed, you may instantiate and configure your concrete hardware instance by adding a textual definition of your hardware. By referencing the aforementioned template, you are able to benefit from the default presets. Further customization, like changing an IP address, allows for a more flexible configuration. Setting up secure communication with the device is required to prevent unwanted access to the hardware. To finish off hardware configuration, the setup has to be compiled and loaded onto the PLC. Now that HWCN is completed, the next step is configuring the runtime behavior of the application. Therefore, create a configuration that contains the application's memory and task layout. The easiest way to get started is by linking a program to a cyclic event. This way the PLC knows when to call which program. Inside the program, you may instantiate required functionality and let it be executed by the PLC. In order to implement any additional functionality, you may create as many ST files as required. Inside the files, you can define an arbitrary amount of blocks using structured text according to IEC 61131-3. In this simple example, we are going to implement a class named counter. Purpose of this class is to count the amount of cycles being run. Therefore, we provide the class with a method definition that is going to increase the internal value of the class by 1, once every time the method is called. Once the implementation is completed, you may switch to testing your source code. This can be achieved by facilitating the AX unit test framework in combination with the same programming language used for your application. The quickest way to do so is by adapting the already existing template code. To achieve this, provide a meaningful name for your test set and implement at least one test method. This method requires an instance of your class under test, in order to execute it. By using the return value of that operation, any deviation from the expected result can be detected conveniently. Executing a test run can be achieved by either making use of the command line interface or by triggering tests via the UI. When you are done with the implementation, the next step is to deploy the application to your hardware. Simply build your source code and deploy the artifacts to the PLC. Verifying the correctness of your implementation is supported by accessing the PLC online and extracting values during runtime. Navigate to your implementation and go online. This allows you to create log points inside the source code which will show the development of online values of the selected variable.